Hello, this video is going to cover the exciting new features we've released for our Florida clients. We are now an official forms provider for all FAR and BAR forms offered in Florida. This video is going to cover how to use those, how to send them out for e-sign, and also how they can be automatically applied to checklists so your agents don't have to find each individual form. Let's start off using a checklist inside of a transaction. So as always with Brokermint, the first step of starting any e-sign is to go ahead and create the transaction and add on a checklist. Once you've added on the appropriate checklist, you'll now notice that you have a new button off to the right here that says Use Forms. If you're ready to send out a form or group of forms for e-sign, you can go ahead and click on this Use Forms button, and this will bring up your forms library. So let's go ahead and select our first form. When you do that, you'll notice if you have a company library of forms already, that will appear up here as well, but let's concentrate on the FAR forms here. When we click FAR, you'll notice that all the forms are grouped into their different categories. So if we were ready to send out a residential contract, we could go ahead and go into the appropriate section and select the appropriate form. Once you've selected the appropriate form or forms, if you need to send out a group, you can then hit select. It'll show you the list of forms you're about to send out for e-sign, and then you can click next to access our cover sheet. This cover sheet is a very convenient way of filling out the form without needing to type in data over and over again. If there's multiple spots where a seller one's name is needed, once it's typed in once, it'll populate on all sections of the form that require a seller name. Same goes for address, county. All of these fields work the same exact way. They're put into specific categories like property or parties. Once it's filled in once, it'll populate onto all sections of the form. You'll also notice that certain fields will automatically populate, like address and price. Those are coming directly from the transaction itself, so if you have an MLS integration, that integration will push the data into Brokermint, and then that data will then populate onto your forms automatically. If there is some data that needs to be typed in, you can go ahead and type in the appropriate information. And you can continue to do that throughout the cover sheet. You'll notice that there's different types of fields to fill out in this cover sheet, either text fields, we also have drop downs, and then we also have checkboxes. If there's any questions about what a particular field actually links to, you can hover over these question marks and it'll tell you what the appropriate section or information is for that particular field on this particular form. Once you're done filling out all the appropriate information, you can then go ahead and click Next. When you do that, it'll pull you into the Sign section. This is where you can input who's signing this document. If certain people are not needed, you can hit the X to remove. Now, one of the nice things is, if I had already added someone with the role of buyer or seller to my transaction in the Users and Contacts section, their data would automatically populate in here. If we had forgotten to do that or chose not to do that for whatever reason, we can go ahead and enter in their information in now. It'll pull up from your contacts list just like you're entering a contact onto a transaction. So if you've worked with this person before, you'll see their name appear in the list here and you can go ahead and make that appropriate selection. If someone's not needed, like let's say we don't have two sellers on this deal, we can go ahead and just hit the X to remove that individual. Once we're done putting in who actually needs to sign this document, you go ahead and hit Next again, and that'll bring up the editable PDF. Now we understand that your former system may have had you entering in data directly onto the PDF, so we want to make that available to you as well. So when you get to this section, if there's anything that you forgot to type in, or maybe there was a typo, or you just want to double check the data in general, you can go ahead and do that here. Any box that has this blue hue to it is typable, so you can go ahead and enter in that data now. If it's something that doesn't need any information, you can go ahead and skip over it. With these beige boxes, when you hover over them, it'll actually tell you who's going to be in charge of signing, initialing, or filling that field out. So when I hover here, you can see that this is assigned to buyer 1, which was Taylor Reef, and their email address. If we switch over here, it'll tell us who the buyer 2 was, and we can continue on and do that with the sellers as well. If you remember, I removed seller 2, that's why there's no box here over this initial spot. Once you review your document and type in any additional information you may have forgotten, you can go ahead and hit send. Now, if you prefer to fill this out back on the cover sheet, you can definitely do that as well. If you just click back, it'll take you back to the sign package. Hit back again. Here we are at the cover sheet, and we can go ahead and fill it out from here instead of on the PDF. Once we're ready to send it out, we can come back onto the PDF and hit send once we're ready. Now, there's a strong chance that you're filling this form out, but you don't necessarily need to send it out right away. That's not a problem at all. If you go ahead and just hit this X button, it actually saves this form, and the next time you come back to it, it'll have all of that data saved in, and you can just pick up where you left off. To demonstrate, we'll go ahead and click on Use Forms again. I'll go ahead and select that same residential contract. Now once I hit next, you'll see that it's saved that data that we typed in earlier. We can then go through the process like normal, hit next, and then finish it off by hitting send. Once you've sent out the documents, just like with our normal e-sign packages, it'll go ahead and send all of those forms out for signature. You can check on the status from within the transaction. You can also turn on notifications to be notified once a document has been signed or even just viewed. If you want to view the status from the transaction, just click on the document, click on e-signatures, and it'll tell you who it's been sent to and who's actually viewed it, and then who's actually signed it once that step has happened. Now, as an admin, you may want to automatically assign certain forms to certain tasks. That's where you'll notice that some of these tasks on this checklist have the Use Forms button right here. And when you give that a click, it'll bring up whichever form has been assigned to that task. To do this is extremely easy. You just need to have the correct permissions. As long as you have the ability to go into your checklist and modify checklists, you can then click on any task you need to, and where it says requires a document to be attached, just change that to be created using forms. Once you do that and hit select, you can assign any form or forms that you need to this particular task, and then hit save. Now, whenever your agents go into a transaction, bring in that listing checklist that we modified. Now that task that we have has the Use Forms button here, and when the agent clicks on that, it'll bring those forms right up for you. Thank you very much for watching this demonstration. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to us via chat. You can also reach out to us at our general support line, which you can find on our website, or you can shoot your main point of contact at Brokermint an email. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.